Well, I want to wish everyone a good Monday afternoon here from Score, Minnesota, here in beautiful Sarasota, Florida. We're so excited today to be presenting you with two of our really just well-known experts in the field of marketing as well as digital marketing, and are really super excited to have folks here with us. A little bit about who we are as Score National. If you're not familiar with the SBA and SCORE in general, this is a great opportunity for you to become familiar with this organization on a national level. And then us specifically, we are an amazing chapter here in Minnesota. But the SBA provides free opportunity for folks who have small businesses to get workshops, mentorship, tools to really help you in developing and building your business. I was a business consultant for years, and really this service is amazing. So if you have not had an opportunity to become familiar with SCORE National, 300 chapters, over 11,000 volunteers in 1,500 plus communities around since 1964, please, take an opportunity now to do that with us here through this workshop, and then furthermore after that. We here at SCORE Minnesota, we really like to take the time to work with folks individually through mentoring, and then of course workshops like this. But if you're looking for some mentoring, if you're a startup, if you're looking at opening a business, if you're looking at retooling your business now after 2020, obviously there's a lot of opportunity there. We have a lot of folks that can help you with that. And then if you're looking at selling your business, this is another opportunity for you. So my name is Paula Biltmore. I'm the Education Committee Chair for SCORE Minnesota. Welcome to you. We're so excited to have you here. We have a great program for you today, and none of this could be possible without our community partners. We do have a lot of support financially from folks to bring this to you, and we are so excited to have Jack Morris and Jeremy Petty for you this afternoon to talk about, marketing for your business and really starting to understand not only the digital marketing side, but also some fundamental pieces to marketing. So first and foremost, an introduction to Jack. Jack is one of our expert mentors at SCORE. He comes on in mentoring in an ad hoc position with many, many clients. In his early career, he was in charge of marketing and communications for big companies like Heinz and KFC and Chick-fil-A, Georgia Pacific. He really has the bandwidth to help you in looking at, how to market your business. Just a whole entire career's worth of expertise there that you can tap into through SCORE Minnesota. And then Jeremy as well, CEO and founder of Ignition Digital Marketing. He's definitely helped hundreds and hundreds of businesses in the last 10 years in generating tens of millions of dollars in revenue through digital marketing. So if you're interested in that, he's also an expert that can help through SCORE Minnesota. So without further ado, I want to have Jack jump on here and talk about this very first part in a 4-part series about marketing in the digital world. Jack, welcome. Thank you so much for taking your time to provide this information to folks today. Always a pleasure and treasure to have with us. So thanks.
Okay, Paula, that's great. Hello, everybody. I'm Jack Morris. Welcome to the first of a series of 4 consecutive weekly presentations. And Jeremy and I will be working together to develop your experience and your motivation to get involved in helping your business succeed in what is easily understood to be a very challenging upcoming year. So it's a 4-part series dealing with marketing, communication in the digital world. My job in this 30 some odd minutes will be to introduce you to some ideas on how to think differently about your business. So if Jeremy, you can give me this. I looked at this slide this morning and once again wondered, is this really what I wanted to do? It's a little convoluted, I apologize, but here's how you can basically understand this, this slide. It's essentially the history of communication, and it was somewhat cumbersome, but I apologize for that. Basically, communication begins with a sender, a receiver, and a message that they share. Boom, there's 3 elements to that communication. But then after that, things got a little bit different when technology started changing, and then we had messages being delivered in different ways. Print, electronic, obviously personal, the original communication method, but you started dealing with different media. And so you had a 4-part communication model. That's at the top of the screen, dealing with the sender, a message that the sender wants to send, the medium the sender wants to utilize, and the receiver at the end trying to figure out whether they understand and are motivated by whatever the sender's intentions were. Somewhere in the recent past, we entered into the fourth element, or the 5th element, if you'll pardon me, the 5th element, dealing with feedback. When you're personally selling, you get immediate feedback. You see it in the face and in the words being used by the receiver. And then if you're using newspaper and television and radio and billboards and that kind of stuff, you then start getting into things that are distancing. Distance becomes the issue, where people are physically separated from each other, and now becomes the very critical element of getting some sort of confirmation as to whether the message you're sending on the media you're using is being correctly understood by the receiver. Thus, we have a feedback session. Basically, today, we are experiencing the utmost in this communication model, in that this particular series is generated to allow you to tell us whether you have questions or concerns about the content. So we are able to, in this session, generate that final level of communication where we're getting immediate feedback from you. All we ask of you is to take some notes during this time and be prepared for the Q&A session at the end of my presentation, where we can then hear back and try to figure out how to make the communication more effective and efficient between us. So, Jeremy, if you wouldn't mind. I have a system. It's not mine, it's not a patent or anything, but I believe in the years that I've been working in SCORE that I've developed some way for us to help you, for the people at SCORE to help our clients, help them better understand how to better understand their business so that they can create effective and efficient communications. That begins with step 1, where we ask for you to consider the undertaking of a SWOT analysis. Those are 4 initials that tend to mean all 4 of the components of the SWOT analysis: strengths, your business weaknesses, external opportunities that are out there that can help you, and threats that are out there that can represent a challenge. If you are not or have not yet done one of these SWOT analyses, I would strongly encourage you, when you find time, to get on the internet, plug in the word or the letters SWOT, and up will come just a tsunami of links for you to figure out who can explain the SWOT analysis so that you can more effectively understand it. It is an analysis you need to be able to undertake and update as you go through the business building process. For today, all I really need you to be aware of is we're going to stay with the S of the SWOT analysis. We're going to focus on the strengths. We're going to focus on those things you consider to be the things that make your business something worth your time and energy and money to develop and grow and enhance into something bigger than, or something that you want it to be. A little spoiler alert at the bottom of this slide tells you that, later on in my presentation, I'm going to tempt you with the idea of maybe looking at the T section of the SWOT analysis. But for the purpose of my presentation right now, for the limited time we have, we're going to focus on you generating words that represent the strengths of your business. So, Jeremy, if you would. So the goal here, has been the goal with clients that I've worked with over the years, I've been with the Minnesota chapter, I need you to literally put on a chart or a list, start putting words on a list or piece of paper for you to refer to, as these words represent what I consider to be the strengths of my business. By the way, this can be a conceptual business that you're thinking about starting, or it can be an existing business and you want to make it grow bigger and better and all those great things we're trying to get accomplished in 2021. So these words that you're going to offer up are going to be the critical first part of the process of improving your communications, developing that list of S words, and then maybe you're ready to go on to the next step in organizing that list. By the way, I've had clients that have, maybe I'm guessing at this point, but maybe they came up with 40 words. Some of them might have been phrases. Some of them came up with a lesser amount, 12, 15. It doesn't matter. You put the list down that you feel confident represents your business's strengths. Now we're going to try to organize it, because by organizing this list of S words, we're going to be able to figure out how to best use them in your marketing communication for the desired result of adding customers and building your business. So we have a three-step process, or I've encouraged my clients to utilize the three-step process where we're going to categorize this list of words. Some way, somehow, we're going to find a way to do that. Then we're going to go through something that you might see as somewhat odd. We're going to see if there's a need to translate those words, and I'll get to that later, but understand that step 2 is going to be some sort of translation process that is going to be very important for you to understand, appreciate, and endorse and use. Then the last thing we do is prioritize those words to figure out which ones now seem to represent stronger words than the other ones that you had in your list. They're all going to be valuable. Some are going to be more valuable in helping you find the important communications that you need to begin that customer relationship that you're trying to achieve. I've used 2 ways for you to do the categorization of your S. Oh, by the way, nice job on the S word list that you're going to create, that you need to create. And now we're going to figure out how to categorize them. Basically, there's 2 ways to do that. The one at the top, I will define as a company description. You're going to categorize your S words by the various ways you think about your business. Is this a word that represents who you are? Is it a business description? Or is it a function description? This is what we do. This is the industry we're in. This is the business we consider ourselves to be a part of. The last one, and it's maybe identified on the slides as being a little bit of a different color or something. Why this word is different? Why is it that we're different from our competition? We're trying to find those words that represent strengths that differentiate you from the competition in a positive way. That's category 1. The one below it is the option. Those of you who have any kind of marketing background, who have taken courses in marketing, may understand that these categories, these elements at the bottom of the marketing piece are basically the 4 Ps of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. Maybe you find it easier for you to take your S words and apply them to these marketing categories. They're different, but not in a meaningful way. You pick the one that you feel the most comfortable about using later on in your creation of your effective business communications. There is no better. You can pick the one that you want to do, and either way, it will be satisfactory. Now, again, creating S's from the SWOT analysis, we're categorizing them. Pick your option here. These are the 2 I'm most familiar with, by the way. There obviously could be others. And now we're going to go figure out what to do about that. Translation. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. I've had more fun with clients in this one because it's getting them to kind of think from a different perspective, put on a different set of lenses, get people talking about their business. Doesn't necessarily mean that language or that list of S words is meaningful and motivational to your customers. This is the communication model. It is sending and receiving with a desire to figure out, is the message understood? Is the message appreciated? Is the message motivational? So what I find with clients when I get them to try to put together their S words and do a very good job of categorizing them, I find them using words oftentimes that talks about features of their business, whether it be a product or a service, specifications. You guys know more about your business than anybody, so you can get into the details and be able to offer the specifications as to what makes your business work. Big, small, color, all those kind of things, and the attributes of that business that you believe represent who you are and what you're trying to do. You talk in terms of features, specifications, and attributes. Your customers don't really want to hear that. They want to hear, what are you saying to me that I can understand to be benefits and solutions to problems or needs that I have? This is where the translation is very critical, that we understand that, yes, you're using a higher gauge wire in your electronic equipment, and you're real proud of that fact because you may have the only equipment that uses that. The customer wants to know about clarity, reliability, all those things that make their lives easier so they don't have to worry about things like repair and maintenance and stuff. So I'm going to give you some examples of that, but this is a funny little phrase at the bottom. I think it's funny. Think of your customers as whenever they're listening to you personally, electronically or otherwise, think of everything that they're thinking in that little customer head of theirs. They're only thinking about what's in it for me. I think it's kind of an important thing. You might consider it to be somewhat on the humorous side of it, but doggone it, this is how your customers think. They're thinking about solutions and benefits and what's in it for me if I take the time and energy and spend my precious money to acquiring what you're offering for sale. Is my life going to be made easier by the things that are important to me? Okay, we've got examples here. They may not be the best, but I thought I was trying to develop things or examples. Somebody, you've out there developed a brand new way of manufacturing and installing solar panels, and you, boy, talk about a technology issue. You've got all the specs and the attributes and the details. What the customer wants you to tell them is this going to lower my utility costs? And is it going to do it in a way where I won't have to go back up on the roof or wherever I have to go find your panels and figure out, am I going to need to replace these things? By the way, they're hard to replace without a lot of roofing work. So you talk about your solar panels. What customer wants to hear when they're being introduced to your solar panel business is, how are you lowering my costs and how are you making sure that that I am going to be relying and trusting of this service? This next one, I give full credit to my son. He introduced me to a business out there that it really struck me. And this was a couple of weeks ago when he was sharing with me. He is off trying to start his own business. He's decided to do it in Mexico. And so he is obviously in need of a residence and in need of something. And let's talk about ways in which people are choosing to find places to live and what kind of criteria do they use. Now I am not a shareholder in this company, but when I learned about Selena as a new residence concept, I became I had the same reaction that I had when I first heard about Uber. I hope that didn't date me too much in front of you, but Selena represents to me some real solutions and benefits to people that are looking for a place to work, live, and make friends. Doesn't that sound like an interesting combination of benefits? I want to be somewhere where I can live comfortably. I can work very close to where I live, like within walking distance, and that this place has got some sort of a management capability where they do social events and they bring the residents together and have some sort of community or social time. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was a dynamic idea. And this Selena company, as I understand it, if you go on the website, you begin to see they're beginning to spread this thing out rather rapidly, as they should, because for me, it solves problems. It makes life easier. It does important things. So this is what I talk about. If you have a product you're trying to introduce to your customers, you may talk about the specs and the details of the address of the zip code of what you're doing, but in that blue area on the right, this is how the customers think. What's in it for me? What am I going to get as a benefit to making the changes you're asking me to make by now creating a relationship with you? Let's go down to services. You're a tax preparer, and you're doggone good at tax preparation. You've spent years, gotten degrees and certifications, and that's all very important. That's an S. Those are S words. Those are important, for you to describe what you do, how you do it, and maybe getting into the area of why you're a different kind of person than other tax preparation companies or organizations. The customer wants to hear things that may be needed to be said differently, and they want you to tell them, are you going to figure out a way to save me money? Tax preparation costs money, and stuff that I'm filling out on my tax form may be things I'm paying for that I shouldn't have to pay for. So can you save me money? Can you make me wealthier? This is what's in the mind of your consumer. Your product is tax preparation, or your service is tax preparation. Be aware that your customers are always going to be evaluating the things you say in terms of what's in it for me. Something I think is a novel and useful idea these days is mobile pet care. This is what we at SCORE deal with. These are clients that come in and ask us for very diverse solutions or assistance for a lot of stuff. So let's deal with pet care. You've got an idea that you think, something, I should have my pet care. I should do it in a van. A very colorful van with information on it, and I'll be able to go to the people who have pets and provide them with pet care. Well, okay, that's the start. Those are S words, and I like them. But again, you're dealing with my pet here, so it's an emotional thing, or at least for most people it is. I want to know if you're a quality experience. Are you going to be as good as the place I used to take my pet to? Do you have salon quality? Is the equipment you use and all the accessories that you provide, are they salon quality? Because I do not want my pet going into any environment that's less than salon quality. Van certified pet care, low cost supplies and accessories. You can save them more money on various pet care items if you also are offering those things. As long as I'm here making your pet, giving your pet proper grooming, maybe you'd like to come in or take a look at some of the supplies and services, clothing, pet care items. This is what they want to know. You are offering mobile pet care. They want to know, am I going to get the same experience for my pet that I am used to getting when I take my pet away from the house and do that? So this is an important slide, by the way. You might want to make notes on this, because here are the examples, and you obviously have your own business that's going to fit somewhere on that left side between products and services. You've got your own businesses. You've got your S words. So what we're going to need to do is figure out, do those S words need some tweaking? Do they need some modification? Do they need to be replaced by words that talk about solving problems and providing benefits? And that's the translation that goes into this portion of your communication development process. Linger on this a little bit, gang, because if we're going to go into that Q&A and this one's got you a little bit confused, I want to hear from that, because this is kind of a critical step, at least the way I operate in the Minnesota chapter. This is kind of a critical step where we're now getting my clients, you're our clients, getting them to put on a different set of lenses here and start figuring out how your communications can be more effective and impactful on the customers that you want as yours, and the revenues from them that you want as yours. Jeremy. Okay, we've got them, we've got the S words, We got them categorized. We've begun to translate them. And oh, by the way, you know, this is a flux things. Things can move around. Words can move at this point. Word mobility is not a concern. Move your words around if you think they're better placed in another area of your categorization, but keep moving toward categorizing, translating. And then we're going to get into the prioritization. Once you've got those translated S words in their categories and doing that, then you come into, you know, the prioritization. Are some of these words stronger than the others? Yes, I know that sounds like Sesame Street, but it is a very important thing for you to do. Find those words, the translated S words in their proper categories that tend to say stronger things quicker about who you are and what your customers need to know. I inject a spoiler alert here. We're getting into that communication model where we need feedback. You're going to develop your communications, and what are you going to do to try to monitor and manage whether those communications are having the desired effect that you want? And if they're not, what kind of changes do you think you're going to have to make to your communications to improve them for the quantity of people that you're trying to make a better impression on? So that was just a spoiler alert. That gets put over on the side. We're going to deal with that in a later program in this weekly series, but I may address it a little bit more at the tail end of mine. So we've got the S words. We got them translated. We got them categorized. We have them prioritized. And now we try to figure out, is there something in this wonderful list of words and phrases that can work for you as a USP? Marketing people salute this term. We all believe that there is an incredibly important thing to understand. If a communication can address a unique selling proposition, then it is worth working on to make better and make it more commonly available in all of your communications, business cards, websites, everywhere. USPs have got to be aggressively promoted, consistently promoted in all of your communications. Unique selling proposition, break it all down. Unique means you own it. This is the one, remember we talked about what makes your business different than other businesses? That relates to the U in USP. Do you have a unique thing about your business that you're trying to present, obviously sell, in your marketing communications, which are the proposals or the propositions that you're using? So this is the separating the men from the boys, if you want to use that kind of a term, separating you in a superior competitive ways from your competition by these words that you have worked very hard to create. Yes. Oh yeah, going back to those two options, I wanted to remind you that you had a section in the business categories and why we're different. Why we're different was an attempt very early on to get you to sort of find those things, those unique things that separate you from the competition. If you used the 4 Ps method, you would probably be focusing, not exclusively, but you'd be focusing your attention on the product service section. Where are the S words that best work for you in the product service section? So again, these reflect back on an earlier slide to make sure that you understand. If you find this process a little difficult, go to the easier, the low-hanging fruit, if you will, of your choices for how you select your S words to work with. And so I gave you 2 ways so you can begin that work, that investigation for you to do that. In either case, you're probably going to end up, as my clients ended up, with 2 or 3, who knows, 4 of words that do it, that work for you, that make you feel comfortable, that make, I've had even clients smile and say, yes, yes, I like that. That really is a better way of explaining who I am. And I understand it may have more impact on my customers than what I was thinking about. I'm not saying that's always going to be the case, but it is not a rare situation for me to have that with clients I've worked with on having them get to near the end of this effort where they finally have USP words, and they can figure out what they want to do with them to make them part of their overall marketing communication. This is where I think I'm going to do this by alluding. Yeah, Jeremy, if you'll get me to the next one. Remember I told you earlier in the presentation, remember the SWOT analysis? And I said, you know, we might be dealing with the T in the SWOT analysis. So here is my reference to you on the T in the SWOT analysis. The T, if you'll recall, deals with threats. There is no better threat to the business idea or the small business that you have than your primary competition. The customers are being pulled back and forth between you and them. They're the ones that stand the most chance of successfully taking your customers from you. Well, S words for them would be interesting for you to understand. Can you figure out what they are? What are your competitors' S words? You might need to go to some of their, you might go to a website, find out what their communication language is all about. And the reason I bring that up now, you can do this communication process very effectively without looking at the competition. But doggone it, if you have access to your competition's communications and the media they use and can figure out the language they're using to promote themselves, you're in a stronger position to do a more effective job than they are on grabbing the customers they want to hold on to, or they are also interested in attracting. Okay, we got this all done. It's not all done, but it certainly is at a point where you can feel, by the way, as a quick aside, days and weeks can occur for all of this presentation up to now. Days and weeks, depending on the frequency of my contact with my clients, can be required before you complete that. But right now, the days and weeks are over. You've got this list, it's categorized, it's translated, it's prioritized. You feel comfortable that you've got some USP things that you feel you want to work with. And now it's all about, okay, what kind of communication can you derive from them? Can you derive a motto? Can you derive a slogan? Those are very brief expressions. Sometimes 3 to 6 words can constitute a slogan or a motto. You could go ahead and try your best to do that. Or you might actually put a couple of attention-getting sentences together. Now, those would be possibly sentences that you would lead off in a selling communication where you'd want to start with your strongest cards. People don't have a lot of time to wait for you to explain yourself. Hit them with the S words, hit them with the USPs up early in your communications so that you have their interest, and you can then proceed to explain why they should spend additional time hearing you explain what it is about your business. So this slide is basically talking about, now it's time for us to create slogans and phrases and sentences. Let's get wild here. You create a paragraph, pages on your website that can work on each of the categories. That's where I'm going to plug, and it's time for me to say, you know, you can do it. You can do it. And some of you, I've had clients that can really do it, you know, but this is where you may need some help. Whether you have personal friends or business acquaintances that are sort of marketing oriented in the way they work on their communications, or whether you need to seriously consider joining SCORE and bringing up some experience that can help you effectively craft this marketing communication for you in a way that you will find pretty impressive. So I would encourage you, does this sound like I'm selling something? Yeah, maybe, but I am. If you're not a part of SCORE, you should be. And if you're a part of SCORE, work with the SCORE person you're dealing with and see if they can't give you some help in getting past this thing and getting your marketing communications in a point where you're ready to go public with it. Jeremy, I think we're getting dangerously close to finalizing this presentation. Yeah, I think there's 2 left. Last thing I want to tell you about marketing communications, follow a process. There is a beginning, a middle, and an end to them so that the story you're telling makes sense to the person who's listening to the story. And there's a way to express that in marketing terms. It's called AIDA. Your marketing communications follow these progressive stages to the point where you're introducing your business, getting their attention, creating some interest that you're talking to them about something they should listen to. Then you're going to give them details and get that interest to evolve into desire. Hey, I'd like to talk to somebody about how I can get a hold of that, or what do I do now? And then the action plan at the end of your communication that says, click here, give me an email back, do whatever you need to do to get a response. Communication model, get a response back that says, I understand, I'm interested, I'm really interested, I'm ready to buy. And that's the AID process. Your website should follow that process. You do any kind of elevator pitch, that you're talking to somebody about your business, you usually want to kind of stay with the script that an AIDA presents to you, because it'll make your job easier. To clear words and communication, clear and concise. You want to make sure what you're saying is clearly understood, and you want to make it as concise as possible, because time is the enemy of all communication. So follow AIDA, look it up on the website if you want to get more information about it, or ask me about it in the Q&A that's about to follow. Now I'm pretty sure, Jeremy, we're ready to index. Okay, I'm sort of done. I'm winding down here. We're going to allow a couple of minutes here for Paula to come in and help farm and gather in some Q&A so that we can have a live interaction. Remember that communication model? We've got a capability for a live interaction to help you get over a couple of the bumps, maybe a couple of the ditches that I might have been careless about presenting to you earlier. But now's a chance for you to talk to us about what it is you want to learn more about. And please remember, if the slides were important to you and you want to go back, you've got free access to them. And Paula's going to explain that also. So Paula.
Yeah, that's the primary question we have thus far, Jack, is the presentation going to be available? And yes, it will be emailed out to you. If you have attended the meeting, then you will have access to that for free. If you haven't, then there would be a small charge, but for those of you who are here, you'll have access to the presentation. And really, the other question I have coming in here, hold on just one second, Jack.
Can I inject one thing?
Yes, absolutely, dear.
I am not the only one at Minnesota that can help you with this, but
yes.
I've been happy to work with you if you wanted to join and get involved. And yes, you know, when I'm not riding my Harley, I'll work with you in developing your marketing communications. So I'm all in. Just let me know.
Okay, great. As far as Q&A, in the Q&A box, you'll see there, you can post questions there for Jack, and you have an opportunity to engage with us here. If not, I want to just chat with Jeremy here for a little bit. I know we want to let you know the next workshop that's coming up is the one with Jeremy on digital marketing. And that will be forthcoming for you. Jeremy, do you want to take a minute here and go through a little brief overview for your upcoming event?
Sure. Thank you, Paula. So,
sure.
Next week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to dive into search engine optimization. I'm going to take you through the entire process of creating a successful SEO campaign. And so this is sort of what we're going to be looking at. We're going to do an overview of search engine optimization just to get you familiar with what it is, why you need it, and the common misconceptions that are around SEO. And then we're going to dive into the actual process. And so we're going to talk a little bit about website design. We're going to get into competitor research. So again, this is part of that SWOT analysis and looking at the threats, looking at your competition, and then also analyzing what your competition is doing. We're going to get into keyword research. Again, those S words, those strengths, what sets your company apart from everybody else? Because those S words are going to help you in the keyword research steps. It's really going to make that part a lot easier for yourself. The next thing we're going to look at is creating a website sitemap. So actually remapping your website in a way that is structured and ways that search engines like to read it. We're going to go over technical SEO, so how to optimize the coding and the back end of the website. On page SEO, so how to actually optimize the content of your pages to rank for those keywords. We're going to go over authority building and link building. And authority building is essentially your trustworthiness factor inside of Google. And then we're going to look at how to analyze your results from an SEO campaign. And then something that we're not really going to be covering next week, but we kind of get into it on week 4 is pay-per-click advertising. And real quick, what I want to do is just kind of tie in the USP into next week's presentation, which is SEO and also PPC, and just kind of compare those two real quick. And understanding what your unique selling proposition is, just like Jack said, that's kind of what a marketer uses to really push your company. So the USP is kind of like that attention grabber, what sets you apart from everybody else. And then those S words in the SWOT analysis are there to bolster your USP. And it really helps us to create the marketing material around your USP to put it out there and to market your company. The goal of search engine optimization and pay-per-click advertising is to drive traffic to your website. And your USP is what's going to sell your business to the customer or client once they get to your website. So again, your USP and the S words from the SWOT analysis, these are all, necessary in order to actually form a successful marketing campaign. And what I'll do real quick is just briefly go over a couple things on SEO and PPC. So what is SEO? Well, it's the process of nourishing and growing your website so that it ranks highly in search engines. The ultimate goal of an SEO campaign is to rank #1 for keywords related to your business. And this helps to generate free traffic to your website, increasing leads and in turn new customers. And on the other side, pay-per-click advertising is where you create an advertisement and pay every time your ad is clicked on. So the traffic isn't necessarily free. When advertising on search engines like Google, it works like an auction. You choose keywords that you want to advertise for, you set a maximum cost that you're willing to pay for each click, and then whoever bids the highest on the keyword shows up #1 on the search engines. And so there's a lot that you can do to maximize the efficiency of advertising. We kind of get into it a little bit more in week 4. But SEO is really what we're going to be focusing on, because that's what generates the most traffic to your website. And just looking at, apples to apples, SEO versus PPC, a search engine optimization is very much content driven. So again, this goes back to knowing what your strengths are in that SWOT analysis, because that's going to help you create the content for your website. PPC is more budget driven. You still need your USP because that's going to be your attention grabber for something that I'll show a little bit later on. But then the SWOT, the strength keywords in the SWOT analysis is what's going to bolster that. So that's going to be, it's going to help drive your USP to your customers. SEO takes 4 to 12 months to start seeing results because we are dealing with an organic system. Pay-per-click advertising, on the other hand, is what gives you those instant results. Now, the big difference, the way that I like to compare it is, think about growing an orange tree. If you want to grow your own oranges in your backyard, you decide, okay, I want to plant an orange tree. Well, the orange tree doesn't, sprout up overnight and start producing oranges. You have to sit there, you have to nourish it, you have to fertilize it, you have to water it, you have to put insecticides down so it doesn't get infested. You have to take care of that tree. And then over time, it then grows and then starts to produce oranges. In the meantime, you still have to go to the market to buy them, but the goal is to start growing them in your own backyard. And that's what SEO does. SEO nourishes your website so that eventually it starts to generate leads on its own. And pay-per-click advertising is like going to the market. It's there to supplement the SEO to start generating those leads initially while you're waiting for your SEO campaign to start doing it by itself. Now, with search engine optimization, it usually has a lower cost per acquisition. So with pay-per-click advertising, you're kind of paying a premium for that sort of instant lead generation. But over time, when you look at it, you could pay, let's say, $10 for a lead through PPC, whereas through SEO, you could probably get it down to about $1 or $2 per lead. But again, that's over the course of a 12-month period. The other nice thing about search engine optimization is that it can generate infinite amount of traffic. And PPC, on the other hand, is only limited to your budget. So with search engine optimization, again, it's content driven. We're there to organically rank within search engines. And so there's really nothing stopping the amount of traffic coming to your website. Whereas pay-per-click advertising, it's limited by how much you can spend for those ads. As soon as you reach your daily cap for your budget, your ad stops showing, traffic stops coming to your website. So that's really why we focus in on SEO, because in the long term, that's where the majority of your business is going to come from, through digital channels. And again, it's all about doing your research. You want to know your business inside and out through that SWOT analysis, because that's really going to help you when it comes to marketing your business. You need to know and clearly define your USP. You want to know your competitors inside and out as well through doing a SWOT analysis on them. And you want to know what their USP is. Because if you know everything about their business, then you know how to outmarket them. You know how to point out their flaws and highlight how you do it, bigger and better. I'm going to go ahead and skip through this because we're going to go into a lot more detail. But if you don't know what your strengths are or what you should be targeting, there's keyword research that we can do. And again, we'll get into this next week. But one thing that I do want to show is inside of the search engine results page, and this is the last thing that I'll cover today, we can actually see the USP and the S's inside of the search engine. So if you want to see what your competitors are doing, all you have to do is type in, let's say, your industry. And for next week, the example is landscaping company. So right here, in the middle is the title tag, and that title tag usually has your unique selling proposition, because that's kind of like what stands out, for the customer. And then underneath that is like a really short paragraph, and that's what we call the meta description. That's where your S's go into, because that's bolstering and just kind of adding on to your title tag. So again, it doesn't matter what type of digital marketing that you're going to be doing, making sure that you do what Jack says, do your SWOT analysis, find what your strengths are, come up with your unique selling proposition, because that's really going to be the basis of your marketing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeremy. We've got some questions here from folks. Just from an admin standpoint, you'll all be getting an email follow-up with the presentation as well. There'll be a link there to register for next week's presentation. You do need to register for each individually, although the link will be the same. So just from an admin standpoint. And then going into these questions to both you, Jeremy, as well as Jack, should USP go to our homepage? Also, all of AIDA.
I think the USP has its best use in the A part, the first A part of AIDA. Grab them, make them stop what they're doing, and tell them, I'm going to make your life better. That's what a USP can do. If you've got the truth behind you on this, it can serve that purpose. It should be said as early as possible. That doesn't mean you have to go into all the description, the definitions and explanations for it immediately, but stop the receiver who's receiving your message long enough for you to say, I can make things better for you if you'll just give me some time. That's what the USP does.
Perfect. And then Jack, do you use Google Analytics to see your customers' preferences?
Something.
I know Jeremy does.
I'm going to let Jeremy speak more knowledgeably about that.
Sure. So absolutely using Google Analytics, that helps you understand, what people are doing on your website. It allows you to view the analytics of your website. To see, using it to see your customers' preferences. One of the things that you can do, and I kind of get into this next week, and that's part of the keyword research. And in fact, let me just rewind a little bit to kind of show you a little bit of what we're going to be going through. But
And
keyword
Jeremy, on
research.
that line, Jeremy, just real quick, someone asked, are the strength words also your keywords? Because you're talking about that right now.
Yes, so the strength words can be your keywords,
Mhm.
but it's not going to be all of your keywords. Because when you look
Yes.
at, trying to optimize for keywords, there could be thousands of different keywords that you want to optimize for. Now, what I use, this is a free tool inside of Google Ads. It's called a keyword planner. And so I don't so much as use analytics to see the customer's preferences. That's mostly what we use to see where our customers are coming from, and what they're actually doing on the website. But in order to find, maybe what are people actually searching for that we should optimize for, we can use this keyword planner to find those keywords. Um, and again, I go over this next week, but what's really cool is you can get down into the different services that you provide. So again, this is for the landscaping example. You can even specify what people are searching for in a specific area. So if you're having trouble figuring out some S words, you can use the keyword research planner to see what people are looking for, and then you can create some S words based on those.
And you're going to go into a lot more detail of all this next week. A couple of other just quick questions here. Is there data, Jeremy, for what days or times businesses search for vendors? Like
Um,
more
there
optimal times?
there are usually that would be, let's say, like if you're running a Google Ads campaign.
Mhm.
Inside of that campaign, there's actually a box dedicated to time and day. So you can see when people are searching for that keyword, how often your advertisement is showing up for that keyword. What time of day, what day of the week. I believe inside of Google Analytics, if you already have your website up and running, you can see in there what time of the day people are coming to your website and what days of the week. As
Okay.
far as just generally, if you don't have that data, I don't think there's a way to really look and see, unless you have access to somebody else's accounts. But really, that just comes from your own Google Analytics account or your Google Ads account.
Mhm. A couple of questions, and I think that this will wrap it up. But one person said they have a website that doesn't show up unless he actually searches for the specific company name and address. So obviously, the keywords are going to be helpful there, and you're going to go through that next week. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I see that they specifically were looking about WordPress, and that's really where my specialty is with WordPress sites. So
Yeah.
if you're only showing up for, if somebody types in your company name specifically, and that's the only time you're showing up in the search engines, that could mean a plethora of different things. And that's sort of, something that you would have to actually look into for that specific company. Um, it could be the fact that maybe it's not optimized for any keywords yet. It's just the website's up there, so Google knows that your website is related to your business name. Maybe the URL of your website is your business name, and that's usually one of the easiest ways to rank for a keyword, especially a branded keyword,
Hmm.
is just to have your URL, your domain name, be your company name. Um,
Sure.
so if that's the only thing that you're ranking for is when somebody specifically types in your business name, that would lead me to think that maybe the website isn't optimized for other keywords. It could mean that your domain authority is too low, the website is too new. There's a ton of different factors that would go into that, and that would have to be something I would look into specifically for that person.
Okay, great. And then there's some actions there for folks for homework. Any other pieces for homework that you want people to be prepped and ready for, Jeremy, before they jump onto your session?
Um, well, I think we pretty much go over everything next week. What I would like for them to do is to go ahead and if they don't have Google Analytics or Google Search Console linked to their website right now, I would highly recommend that you go out and do that because that gives you invaluable data about the performance of your website. I do go over the Search Console a little bit in the analyzing performance section at the very end. But I would say just to get a jump on next week, go ahead and make sure that you've integrated Google Search Console and Google Analytics.
Okay, and there's probably some YouTube videos on that, which I'm certain that people can kind of jump on and figure that stuff out, sort that themselves. But certainly excited about next week. Jack, thank you so much for your presentation. And as we come to a close, I want to thank everyone for participating this afternoon. It's always very meaningful. Also, if you want some additional help, you can sign up for SCORE Mentor. And then you'll be getting a copy of this presentation as well as a registration link for next week in your email. That should be there sometime today. If you have any questions, please feel free to thank us, to reach out to us and contact us. And we appreciate your time today. Have a great week. We look forward to seeing you next week.